Hi, in this video we're going to solve an equation, m plus 4 equals 1, and we're going to concentrate especially on doing it with algebra tiles, and I'm going to address a particular difficulty that students have, especially when they're working on this kind of equation with algebra tiles. Alright, so let's represent it with algebra tiles. My tiles have red on one side, so that's the negative for both my variable tiles and my unit tiles. So I'll put m plus 4, so everything positive so far, and that's equal to 1. So while I'm doing this, let me just remind you that you really need to make sure you have a good equals sign in your picture. You can draw a little balance scale if you want. I think maybe I'll just put a squiggly line down the middle to represent equals. It's really important that you keep your two sides separate. And if you don't have a proper equal sign, sometimes the little pieces just kind of slide from one side of the equation to the next, to the other, which is really no good at all. All right, so I'm going to write a nice solution over here. We have m plus 4 equals 1. All right, so what a lot of people are inclined to do at this point is subtract 4. And you absolutely can subtract 4 at this point. But I'm going to suggest to you, and we'll go through why, I'm going to suggest that you might actually prefer to add negative 4, which is the same thing. Right? It comes out exactly the same. So we might want to subtract 4. We'll write this like this. So first I'll copy the equation. And then in a different color, I think I have like a purple, here we go. We're going to write that we're subtracting 4. All right, so that's easy with written algebra. But the problem comes in, of course, if we're subtracting 4 on this side, we have to subtract 4 as well over here. And if you look at this picture, it's not super obvious how to subtract 4. Now I'll do it, we'll show you. And I'm going to put a link on the screen right now. If you kind of have trouble subtracting sometimes with counters, I'll put a video, just a review video on up. But we'll do one example here. Maybe it'll jog your memory. All right, so this is 1, but I'm not ready to subtract 4 yet because I don't have 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a 0 pair. So this is really important. This is still 1, right? Because this is worth 0. So I still have 1. And I still have 1 here. I added another 0 pair. And I'm going to add one more 0 pair. So on the right side here, this is still a representation of 1. It really looks like a fancy version of 1. It does not look like one little thing. But it's 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0. All right, so this was, the reason I wanted to do this is so now, with both hands, I can subtract my 4. All right, so over here we have m, and 1 subtract 4 is negative 3. All right, now I find that students often make mistakes when they have to add 0 pairs before they subtract. It's just really easy to get mixed up because you have to do a lot of work before you can do the actual operation. So let's compare what it would happen if we added negative 4 instead. Okay, so we'll start over here. M plus 4 is equal to 1. Maybe I'll switch colors. Switch to this greenish color here. Okay. M plus 4 is equal to 1. So if you're not a big fan of subtracting when you need to put 0 pairs on first, you can remember that subtracting 4 is always exactly the same as adding negative 4. So what I'm going to do is I'll put negative 4 over here, and then I'll put negative 4 right away before I forget on the other side. There. I'll make sure I'm nicely organized on either side of my equals line there. All right, so before I do anything else, I'm going to write this down. So I'll copy the equation, and in my other color, subtract 4, oh, sorry, add, oh dear, -4. Let's cross out that whole line and write that neater. M plus 4 equals 1. We're adding -4 to both sides. There we go. So now if we remove our 0 pairs, there's 1 gone. Next. There we go. And we also have 1 over here. And this comes out just exactly like what we had with our first method. We have m on the left, and it's equal to -3 on the right. So it does absolutely the same thing. Subtracting 4 is just exactly the same as adding -4. But I personally think that when I'm using algebra tiles, it's a lot easier to add -4. If I can't easily subtract with my algebra tiles, if I think, oh, I'm going to need extra 0 pairs to be able to do that, then I just add the negative instead. I add the opposite. So if I was thinking, subtracting 4, that's looking tricky over here with my tiles, then I'll add -4. And I find, for me, that works a lot better. All right, good luck with it.